To Voice of the Cape Drive Time. 0829 913 913 is the WhatsApp line. That's where you can talk to us right in the studio. From District 6 to Chef Jarrah, from forced removals to forced removals, from apartheid to apartheid. Our guest in studio today, Munna el-Kurd, hosted by Friends of Al-Mizan, was born in Chef Jarrah in occupied East Jerusalem. Together with her brother Muhammad, if you don't know yet, they were voted amongst Time magazine's 100 most influential young people in the world for 2021. This was due to their activism surrounding what was happening in Chef Jarrah, forced removals, something we know well about in South Africa, and via social media, by the hashtag Save Chef Jarrah, they made a huge splash on the world stage in making people aware and giving them a window into life under Israeli occupation. But enough of that. A warm welcome to our guest in studio today, Munna el-Kurd. Assalamu alaikum. You're going to just talk to us very briefly in English, and then Abdullah Grifat from Al-Mizan is going to do some translation. But first of all, a warm welcome to Cape Town. I believe it's your second visit to South Africa, first to Cape Town.
Yes, thank you.
My first question, and you can decide whether to do it in English or not, no problem. Your house, 2009, was occupied by Israeli settlers, half your house in Chef Jarrah. And Chef Jarrah is a neighborhood just outside the old city. What is it like having unwelcome guests in your house? I can't get my head around.
It's a very good question, and hard question also, because a lot of people ask me that, like always, and I always answer them with, you imagine living in your own house, and one day someone, stranger, come to your house, and then knock on the door, and then you should evacuate the half of the house, the other house. How would you feel?
I think that's a sufficient answer. How would you feel exactly?
It's very hard. It's very hard because, like, the settler that is now living in my house is American.
Mm-hmm.
He's Israeli American that came like yesterday from America, leaving his own house there to live in my house without any legal situation. So it's all about politics in Jerusalem.
No, absolutely. Now, in last year, we saw things getting hot in Chef Jarrah. I think I can describe it that way. When your house and other houses were now under threat, where Israeli settlers, where the Zionists were now pushing very hard to get Palestinians out of those houses. Just to give some background about the Chef Jarrah neighborhood, it belongs to you, doesn't it? You've got the papers to prove that you own the house.
Actually, it was built in 1956 when the Jordanian government and the UNRWA decided to give 28 families, refugees families, houses in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. And with the agreement with the Jordanian government, they told us in that time that they, after 3 years of living in the houses, they will give us the documents, the ownership of the land and the houses. Unfortunately, the Jordanian government didn't give us any papers. And although the settlers also don't have any papers, so it's all about like illegal situation in Sheikh Jarrah. They want to take 28 families, all the land of Sheikh Jarrah, and not only Sheikh Jarrah, it's all about like every neighborhood in Jerusalem, Silwan, Ras Al Amud, Wadi Joz, all these neighborhoods, the Israeli settlers, organizations, they want to take all this land to make what they call the capital, the big Jerusalem. I don't know how to call it, big Jerusalem, that they claim that they own the land of it.
Just to clarify what you're saying, everything that has happened to you and everything that has happened to your parents and your grandparents and your grandparents' grandparents
is against international law, because East Jerusalem is illegally occupied. It's not you saying it, it's not me saying it, it's the United Nations and international legal platform saying this occupation must stop. It is illegal, and it's been illegal since 1967.
Yes, of course. Yeah, this is what people need to know. It's illegal situation, especially in Jerusalem. And it's not only about me and my family, it's about 500 people that are like threatened to be forced to move from their houses. And not about in Sheikh Jarrah. It's
everywhere.
It's in all Jerusalem and in all Palestine.
Yeah, I mean, there is a policy, isn't it? It's called Judaizing Jerusalem. I used to visit your country very regularly, and I can say with confidence that over a period of 20 years, I saw the Arab-Palestinian space shrinking in Jerusalem to a scary stage where it's impossible right now. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It's impossible for Palestinians to build anywhere in East Jerusalem. You just simply cannot.
Yes, we can. Like I can tell you like briefly our story, my family story, that when they took the house, my grandmother, when she took the house in 1956, my father, like after many years, when he decided to be married and like have children.
Yes, that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. He decided to build another room like beside my grandmother's house, and he asked for permission twice, but the Israeli
municipality, yes,
didn't give him any permission to build. So he built it anyway. Then the Israeli court decided to close the doors of the house because it is without permission. But after 9 years of closing the house, part of the house, they decided to give it to the settlers. So settlers, the Israeli Jewish settlers, is allowed to live in like a house without permission, but us Palestinians that own the house won't allow us to live in it. So less than 3% is the number that the Israeli government only gave the Palestinians to live to build houses in Jerusalem. So it is impossible. It is.
Now, there's something that I always insist: every single Palestinian comes from somewhere. Now, your surname's el-Kurd. It tells me that your family could most likely have been in Palestine since the 12th century, after the time of the Crusades, when the Ayyubids, when the general of Salahuddin Ayyubi, he settled there. Kirkush, I think was his name. I might have it wrong. Yeah, but it was one of his generals, or even a brother or something. He settled in Palestine, and it's historically recorded. So you have been on the land for at least 7 to 8 centuries.
Yes, yes. So we are the owners of the land. Palestine has always been Palestine, and inshallah it will be like very soon. Like it will liberate, and it will be free very soon, isn't it?
Now, one thing that is becoming interesting is that the Palestinian struggle is beginning to change. That's obvious. Younger people are coming to the fore, but they are playing a different game. It's no longer the old-fashioned intifada. You know what I'm saying. We're seeing a sophistication in social media. We're seeing eloquent people like yourself. We've seen what Ahid Tamimi has done, and so many others, all young people. Has the Palestinian struggle now become a struggle for the youth?
I can say yes, because I think that we Palestinian youth are far away from problematic words.
Indeed.
Yeah, we start to name the things how it is. We stop saying eviction. We're now saying forced removal, and we're saying it is apartheid. It is a war crime that need to stop. And actually, I think that we use the social media in a very clever way. We know our demands, we know from whom to ask it, and we have like a lot of this knowledge that what is yani, when I defend my house, I need to know what is the history about it and about all Jerusalem. So we know the knowledge, the all information that we should know about the area, all Palestine. So this new strategies and that we always say that we don't believe in the illegal courts, Israeli courts. We now believe in the movement on the ground. We should like act more, do more, because we don't believe in this illegal courts, because uh, so- all the laws is was put to help the settlers and the settlers organizations, not to help me as a Palestinian.
Yeah, sometimes the illegality of apartheid is actually the way that it uses laws. And in South Africa, just to work as a journalist, we had more than 100 laws governing how we could work as journalists. And I know you understand when I say that. I mean, just to be a Palestinian, there are hundreds of laws as well to be a Palestinian. I mean, every single day of your life, you're under occupation, you're under repression, and you're reminded all the time by the settlers and by the Israelis that they don't want you there. It must be terrible.
It is. We, yeah, all people need to know that we are under occupation, and it's very hard. It's not easy. Like you can see, like in the last months, everyone in the world could see what is happening on the ground. The attacks from the settlers and the Israeli soldiers was like horrible. The arresting, the attacking from like all parts of this illegal state. It was very terrifying, and yani, every time anyone, any child, any man, any girl went to jail, it like all the laws are there to put them more years and years in jails, not to free them. And you can imagine this for like every law in this apartheid state.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, we remind Palestinians or South Africans that your apartheid is 100 times worse than ours, and we didn't enjoy it either as South Africans, believe you me. When it comes to the authorities, one thing that always disturbs us is when we see Israeli soldiers catching children. It's disgusting, and it's against international law again. How on earth do you deal with it? I mean, you yourself have been taken and interrogated. How do you deal with interrogation when people are going to be bad to you? They're going to be hostile to you. How do you deal with that?
I think I can say that we have the bravery, which is bravery to face them, because I think, yani, I can like speak about myself. When they arrested me, I was very calm, because I know that I didn't do anything wrong. I was only defending my house, my land, my trees, my neighbors' houses. So I think we handle it with like a very calm way, but it is very hard, especially for children, to be arrested like uh, like almost all the time. All the prisoners, or the ones that have been arrested is under 16 years old, so it is very hard to them. They always like make us pay like a lot of money to like make the children go out of jail, to release the children's. So it is very hard, but I think that bravery, and we have the power to face them, because all of us, sorry, know that we don't do anything, only defending our houses, only saying what is really happening, and show the world that this is against the law and this is a war crimes that should be ended.
Yeah, you are not a criminal, and that's the bottom line.
Of course.
There's something else that I need to ask you. The very first time I went to Palestine, one thing struck me, and that was I came back thinking that Israel is the most scared country in the world. All the security, I mean, I come to the airport and they tear my suitcase open, and I'm thinking, but Shafick, I'm nobody. And they think that I'm going to be a threat to the whole country. They're very scared, aren't they? I mean, do you think the rest of the world needs to know how afraid these people are?
They are very, very afraid. And I think that this is because they know, like from the bottom of their hearts, that they are settlers. They occupied the land that did not belong to them. So I think everyone should know. That's why we're not scared of them. So they are very afraid. With all their guns and bombs and all the security that they have, we are not scared of them, and they are very afraid. They always like you can see the pictures. Always one little child with like 15 soldiers holding him, and you can see this old picture.
Yes, there's a very funny scene in social media where somebody took away a soldier's gun and threw it on the ground. And I think the soldier, he was so scared, almost wet himself. He was so scared. It was actually funny and tragic at the same time. But again, it backs up the point, as you're saying, how scared these people are. We're going to be going in for some news headlines. Muna, we're going to take a quick break. Our guest today is Muna el-Kurd. She's been rated by Time magazine as the top 100 of the youth. And of course, if you go to hashtag Sheikh Jarrah, she was one of the activists in trying to defend this neighborhood that is currently under siege. Remember, this neighborhood belongs to Palestinians. It doesn't belong to settlers who are illegally trying to take over the houses. And here we use the word forced removals and not eviction. Eviction makes it sound legal. Forced removals is what it is. We know about it in South Africa. But let's cross for the 5:30 headlines. We'll be back with Muna el-Kurd after this. Well done. You did well for English, eh? MashaAllah. It's good. It's good enough. If I were to talk Arabic, it would be a disaster. So it's better to take this way.
بقول لك ركز معي مش مركز
Welcome back to Voice of the Cape Drive Time. We're going to go in for the last 10 minutes of our special interview with Muna el-Kurd. As I've explained, she's been rated by Time magazine as amongst the top 100 young people, together with her brother Muhammad. And of course, they got their fame, we can call it fame, for defending the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah via social media and by some very intelligent resistance. I'm going to put it out there. And of course, her house in 2009, some settlers moved into her house. So imagine living at your house with unwelcome guests, and guests that are so unwelcome that they actually hate you. And they've just moved in unannounced. Imagine, just for a few seconds. Lots of messages coming in on the WhatsApp. I'm going to read this one. These people are saying, Assalamu alaikum, Muna and Abdullah. A story all too familiar. May Allah grant you and your family and Palestinians victory. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. And lots of messages coming in like that. So it's always kept on people, always very soft-hearted and very supportive. Muna, I'm going to ask you about the fact that young people identifying in terms of the Palestinian struggle. We saw the rise of Black Lives Matter do you think it's very important that the Palestinian struggle begins to be seen together with issues like Black Lives Matter? Because at the end of the day, in Palestine, we are dealing with racism, aren't we?
Yeah. So I'll answer this in Arabic, so Abdullah can translate and do something here.
Yeah, he has to do some work. It's far too easy for him.
And like people can hear our beautiful Arabic.
Absolutely.
بخصوص حركة السود مهمة، حياة السود مهمة، كانت يعني بقدر أحكي إنه كانت كمان من النقاط الفاصلة اللي بعدها أيضا العالم تحرك بعد ما شافوا مشاهد واقعية على أرض الواقع انتقلت لهم عن طريق السوشيال ميديا اللي شافوا فيها هذا الظلم والاضطهاد اللي حصل، ومنها بلشوا يتحركوا ويتفاعلوا أكثر مع القضايا العادلة ضد الظلم والاضطهاد. وبالتالي إحنا كمان كفلسطينيين تعلمنا من هذا الشيء كثيرا، لأنه كما حدث مع الحياة السود مهمة، والمشاهد العنيفة اللي شفناها لما الجندي دعس على راسه وخنقه ومات، هذا يوميا يحصل مع الفلسطينيين، اللي يوميا بتلاقي جندي إسرائيلي داعس على رقبة طفل أو شاب فلسطيني لحتى يخنقه ويموت. فتعلمنا من هذه الحركة كثيرا، وأيضا فكرة إنه الناس بدأت ترى الوقائع والحقائق عن طريق الناس الحقيقيين، بدون أي دراما، بدون أي تضليل، بدون أي كذب، بدون أي زيادة. كان أمر مهم لزيادة التفاعل وانتشار القضية بشكل أكبر في الآونة الأخيرة. You can translate.
He's scribbling very, very fast there.
Yeah, I was trying to capture all of that so I don't miss any point, because you chat with me later. You know, it's very hard. She doesn't only shout at the Israelis, you see. So with regards to Black Lives Matter, of course, it was a very turning point in the history of the Palestinian, you know, the struggle of Sheikh Jarrah in particular, because, you know, people at that time managed to see like the act as it was happening in the United States, you know, with the policeman standing or like kneeling on the neck of George Floyd. So at that time, people also began, you know, to move to support justice and just causes like Black Lives Matter, and we saw the solidarity like from Black Lives Matter towards the Palestinian, cause as well. So in Sheikh Jarrah and Palestinians generally, they also have learned from the Black Lives Matter struggle and from some of the methods and the strategies that they have used, especially the ones on social media. And it is also very important to remember that the incident that happened in the United States by that, you know, that act of kneeling on somebody's, you know, neck, that happens on a daily basis in Palestine.
Absolutely, yes.
Every single day we see pictures, and they don't really circulate as much, but we see them in our neighborhoods, whether it's in Sheikh Jarrah or in other neighborhoods, where there's always a soldier or a policeman, you know, kneeling on a child's neck to try and actually, you know, stop him from breathing, like, you know, and to keep, you know, dehumanizing us on a daily basis. And it's very important also, another point that Muna mentions is that like Black Lives Matter, in Palestine also, people have began to see, you know, the atrocities on the ground straight from the people who are living, you know, these atrocities, like Muna and her brother and the people in her neighborhood, the same way they saw it, you know, George Floyd on that day. So this connection is very deep, and we understand that we have learned from the Black Lives Matter a lot.
Muna, in terms of politics, there's been a lot of frustration in terms of Palestinian leadership in Palestine itself, the Hamas Palestinian Authority story. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. How do young people see their future politically within Palestine?
I'll answer it in Arabic. So, هذا سؤال صعب، مش سهل، بس بقدر أختصره بأنه إحنا كشباب فلسطينيين اليوم وصلنا لمرحلة من ممكن أحكيها بتم مليان من عدم الإيمان بأحزابنا السياسية للأسف، لأنه زمان الأحزاب السياسية كان لها دور كبير في على الأرض، لكن اليوم عمالنا بنشوف للأسف الشديد إنه دورها بيقتصر لما يكون في انتخابات، وبيقتصر لما يكون بدهم مصالح سياسية معينة. وبالتالي اليوم إحنا كشباب فلسطينيين أعتقد إنه زاد إيماننا بأنفسنا إنه إحنا اللي ممكن نكون القيادة القادمة، إحنا اللي ممكن نحرك الشارع، وإحنا اللي بنقدر نحصل على ما نريد عن طريق أدواتنا الخاصة.
So it is important, it's a very difficult question to answer. However, she would say so that unfortunately the youth of today have lost hope in the political leadership. That's because in the past political leadership across the board, they used to do a lot for, but today they are unfortunately limiting themselves to only doing work during elections and whenever they need favors.
Yeah, we've heard this before in this country too.
In South Africa, I mean, it's a repetitive, struggle. And so today, it's very unfortunate to say that the youth have, lost hope and faith in the political leadership, but they have belief in themselves and on moving on the ground, and mobilizing the masses on the ground, like what we saw actually in May in Jerusalem.
One of my next question, my final question, our interview has to come to an end. And of course, if you have enjoyed this evening's interview on Voice of the Cape, at 7 o'clock, Muna is addressing a public meeting. It's fully booked because of COVID, but it will be broadcast live on Voice of the Cape and a number of other platforms. So tune in at 7 o'clock again. Judge Siraj Desai will also be one of the guest speakers, and Muna will also be addressing the audience as well. But my final question to you, and that is about young people. What is your message to the young people of South Africa, to the young people of the United States and Europe? What must they do to support you in Palestine as another young person?
I can say it in English so people can hear it from me directly. It is very important to act, not only to say and put some, a lot of, it is very important to put a lot of effort in social media because it works and we saw that.
Yes.
But we need actions too. So I think it is very important. My message to the youth to make events, demonstrations. I don't know what do you want to call it, but it is very important to put pressure on your government to cut the relationships with Israel, because every relationship with Israel is it's you agreeing on me to be evicted, to be forcibly removed. So
evicted is a legal term. Forced removed.
Yeah, forced removed. So yes, thank you for correcting this. So it is very important to do something, to put pressure in your governments to stop the war crimes that Israel is doing on the land of Palestine, and that can we inshallah liberate soon, because I think Israel is the last occupation on the land, on all over the world, on earth. So I think also that no one in the world can agree on what is happening in all over Palestine, not only in Sheikh Jarrah and Jerusalem. It is illegal. It's against humanity and against every law in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of violations of international law by the Israeli authorities is absolutely legend. But Muna el-Kurd, thank you for joining us. Ahlan wa sahlan bikum to Cape Town. Enjoy your visit, and we look forward to hearing you at 7 o'clock this evening on air again. But shukran.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for the listeners. And I want to add that boycott Israel is a very important way to defend and to support us Palestinians, because every rand, every US dollar, every kind of money that you put in the Israelis companies and illegal companies, of course, you pay with it. You allow them to pay to buy a bullet to kill a Palestinian child.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. How was it?
ما شاء الله جميل.
Stop that.
I think they want to give you a gift.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for this.
That's my producer, Rachel.
Rachel, in camera. MashaAllah.
Oh, thank you for that.